Syria condemns the ugly, terrible crime perpetrated by ISIL in murdering al-Assad and calls on the Jordanian government to cooperate in combating terrorism. The Jordanian authorities execute al-Qaeda-linked terrorists Rishawi and Karbiouli. The Syrian Arab Army restores security to a number of villages and eliminates scores of terrorists in Idlib countryside. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our news for today. Syria has condemned the ugly, terrible crime perpetrated by the terrorist ISIL organization, who burnt to death Jordanian pilot Mu'adh al-Kassasiba, God bless his soul, and extended its deep condolences to his family and the Jordanian people. The Foreign and Expatriates Ministry called in a statement on the Jordanian government to cooperate in combating terrorism, represented in ISIL and Jabhat al-Nusra, the terrorist arm of al-Qaeda, and the other terrorist organizations linked to them in Syria and the region. ISIL, it is to be noted, had released a video which showed pilot al-Kassasiba, whom it had held since the 24th of last December, being burnt to death. In retaliation to the execution of the Jordanian pilot Mu'adh al-Kassasiba by the terrorist ISIL organization, the Jordanian Interior Ministry executed at dawn today criminals Sajeda Rishawi and Zeyad Karbiouli. The ministry's statement said the execution took place in the presence of the concerned authorities, according to the provisions of the relevant law. In a new and brutal way, the ISIL organization murdered Jordanian pilot Mu'adh al-Kassasiba by burning him alive. The Jordanian state television mourned the killing of al-Kassasiba, pledged him to take revenge against the terrorist group. It is to be mentioned that al-Kassasiba was killed, according to Jordanian sources, a month ago by being burned alive to death. ISIL had already executed a number of international journalists and aid workers of different nationalities, the last being the two Japanese citizens. Deputy Foreign Minister Dr. Faisal Al-Muqdad discussed today in Tehran with head of the Iranian Committee for National Security in the Shura Council, Alauddin Brugirdi, bilateral relations and the latest developments in Syria. Muqdad also met Iranian Assistant Foreign Minister for Arab and African Affairs Hussein Amir Abdullahian, who on his part reiterated his country's support for Syria to combat terrorism. Al-Layian pointed out during his reception of Al-Muqdad in Tehran today that Syria is facing a flow of terrorists from all over the world, supported by some regional and international powers to undermine the Syrian state. He reiterated his country's support for the Syrian people and government in their effort to put an end to the crisis. On his part, Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zareef expressed his country's readiness to cooperate with friendly states in fighting terrorism and violence in the region. Zareef referred to the threats posed as a result of the spread of terrorism and extremism in the area surrounding Iran. He said Iran, in its capacity as chairman of the current cycle of the non-aligned movement, is ready to earnestly follow up the question of forming an international alliance against violence and extremism on the basis of the Iranian president's proposal at the UN. Welcome back. Syrian Arab Army units have restored security and stability to the villages of Al-Watwatiyya, Jammu Farm and the eastern part of Bab al-Khair, south of Al-Hasaka. In Idlib countryside, the Syrian Arab Army eliminated terrorists in Al-Luj, Saraqib, Tal Salmo, Abu Dhuhur and Al-Majas. 7 terrorists were also killed in Rahum, Anq al-Hawa, Al-Jabiriya, Al-Rish and As-San in Homs countryside. In Homs, the Syrian Arab Army, in cooperation with the inhabitants, has ambushed a towing truck and trailer on Homs-Damascus highway that were heading towards the terrorist groups in Aleppo northern countryside. The trailer contained ammunition and 20,000 detonators in addition to a large amount of money. The 2 terrorists inside it were captured. Over to Libya, when the Libyan Network for Human Rights Organizations called on the interim government to move quickly and file a lawsuit against Qatar and Turkey for continuing to support the terrorist organizations in the country. The network called for submitting the formal complaints to the UN and the UN Security Council attached with the evidences that prove the involvement of the Qatari and Turkish regimes in supporting the terrorist groups in Libya, Syria and Iraq. On the ground, Libyan army continued its progress as several cities west and east the oil field of Al-Mabrouk. Finally, in occupied Palestine, Israeli occupation troops continued their aggression on Palestinian citizens in occupied Jerusalem and many cities in the West Bank. Palestinian sources said that Israeli authorities arrested a number of Palestinians in Jabal al-Zaytun overlooking ancient Jerusalem. Meanwhile, Israeli soldiers broke into a town east of Abu Diz near Jerusalem and forced its inhabitants to leave their homes before they began to demolish their village tents. The Israeli authorities arrested a number of Palestinian citizens in Hebron. With this, we conclude our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news with Serena, but after a short break.